Hello and welcome to Crushing Doubts Q&A every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm glad to be back here with you guys. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. And at the same time, from a mind-body therapist, I will say Thanksgiving is not always the easiest time. So I hope you got through okay. I hope it was actually good in some ways. Okay, guys, let's get started with questions as usual in a second, but I am going to make a couple of announcements as I often do. We do have our seminars coming up December 6th. That is Monday, December 6th. They run Monday through Thursdays. They're 75 minutes long each day, and that's for 2 straight weeks. This is maybe the last seminar before February. So if you're looking to sign up for a seminar, now is the time to do it. I highly recommend it. It gives all of the information that you can get and need to make sure that you have all the information at your fingertips that you need. After that, we work on applying it, and my membership groups are the place that we're doing that. That's going very well. If you want a link for that, please send me an email at dan@crushingdoubt.org or send it to greg@crushingdoubt.org, and we will get you set up. Okay, a couple people to say hi to. Molly says hi on YouTube. Scotty Styles says hello on Instagram. Good to see you. Rita, I see you on Instagram. Put pain in the past. And Courtney, of course, who is one of our producers, has joined on Instagram as well. So good to see you all. We have a question coming in, or it's actually more of an observation or a sharing that Karen Isaacs has. So we're going to bring that up on the screen first. Hi, Rita. Good to see you. She said hi on Instagram. Okay, so Karen Isaacs says this. Now, she didn't actually have the 2 W's. That was not Karen's typo. I'm protecting you, Karen. Karen says, when I'm having a lot of pain, I don't tell my husband. I hate his reaction. But when I've overcome it, I share because I'm proud of myself. So let's leave this up here. First of all, I understand that kind of pride over this, Karen. It does take a lot to fight through all of the worries that you might have about how somebody in your life responds to how you are thinking about these symptoms. And that's actually the main thing that I wanted to observe is this is a very, it's a very private experience that we're actually happening when it comes to mind-body experience. No one else knows what we're going through. They truly don't. Even people who understand mind-body, they don't understand the specifics of what we go through. But people who don't understand mind-body, they really don't get it. And it really is a major problem. One of the things that I tell people to look out for as they're getting better is to pay attention to how isolating it can feel, how lonely it can feel, how challenging to your belief system it can be. It takes a lot to get through doubt without people talking to us saying all kinds of wrong things. And I don't know what the specific reaction is, Karen, although you have shared some in the past, so I have some idea. But the basic gist is I don't share with people who do not have a good reaction to it. I just stopped talking to them about it altogether. When I was getting better in the first place, it was just me and Sarno. Eventually, I was like, I am not talking to anyone else about this because I don't know why people don't understand what Dr. Sarno is even saying this. They didn't even know about it. I was just like, the world seems to have gone crazy. And the reality is it basically has. Dr. Sarno has it right. The mind-body people have it right in general. I think that we can hone what we're doing and keep getting it better and better. And that is what my system is about, to keep describing what it is you're experiencing. And I will keep that coming. But Karen, you should be proud of that because it's not easy to do. And this is standing fiercely in your own corner. That's exactly what I want from you. So good job, Karen. Okay, Sylvia Sierra says, new thing. Used to be the case that sleep would help or wouldn't do much, but lately a couple times when I wake up, it's much worse. How can I explain that with TMS? Is it just doubt trying to get me? Okay, Sylvia, there's a lot to say about this, so let's leave this up here because I'm going to need a little bit of time with it. So first of all, the fact that things change is not a surprise. As we push back against doubt, doubt is going to try to change the system, and it's going to try to change it in ways that fool you. So your last question, is it doubt? Is it just doubt trying to get me? Essentially, the answer is yes. However, one caveat that I'm going to throw in there in a second. I will say this, though. Doubt is always trying to get us, and it's going to change up the system. However, there's also things we can learn about each symptom. And applying the columns is key here. So the fact that it's happening when you wake up, to me, suggests one of two things, Sylvia, and we can do some follow-up on this if you want, so you can kind of sort out what's what and what's making sense to you. But when you wake up, one of two, and you're having symptoms, one of two things is happening. Either the experience of waking up has become a conditioned response where you're used to that, and it starts to be something that becomes a doubt sphere, a place where doubt can kind of jump in. That does not sound like it would likely be the case with you because it's so new. If it continues, that is the kind of thing that could happen, but not if you're pushing back against it at all. So I wouldn't worry about that. What I think is happening for you is different. And that is emotions column stuff. When people are having symptoms waking up, it usually relates to dreams. I know this may sound funny, Sylvia, but I actually think that this is a sign that doubt is crumbling. When doubt starts to crumble, it either comes up with a new thing, which is kind of part of what it's doing, but it also is the case that the other columns become more active. And so I think that your emotions column may be coming to the surface more, and maybe power column as well, as doubt is playing less of a role. Now, I know this isn't fun, certainly not pleasant, but first of all, push back against doubt. This is not going to become a lasting problem. This is actually a moment-to-moment sign of something else. What that is, I think, is probably related to dreams and your emotions. So I want you to be thinking about what was happening the night before when you wake up in this situation. But we can talk more about how it's profiling. The symptoms and how they profile are always clues. So Sylvia, let me know if that helps. Okay, Molly Cake says, update, burning tongue is still non-existent. Yes, it is a miracle, LOL. Or my brain just got bored with sending this message to my nerves and my tongue. Now, here's what I'd say, Molly. I understand why you're thinking it's going to be one of those two things, but the fact is, the brain never gets bored with these things. If it can go on doing the exact same thing, it would. And I know you were saying this kind of tongue in cheek, but I can't believe I just made a tongue in cheek joke about a tongue symptom. I wasn't even trying to; it just happened. But what I think this shows is that the doubt column really works. When you work at it, and you work at it consistently enough, it can go away. Even a symptom that has lasted as long as that did. So you are great evidence for us all. Thank you for sharing. All right. Oh, Molly does say doubt is the devil. I mean, that is what it seems. It does feel that way. Doubt wants to cause havoc. It wants to get us worried about things all the time. And it's consistent. So I can agree with that. The thing is, it's totally conquerable. And you did it with the burning tongue. You can do it with other things. We can keep doing it with more and more things. Okay, I wanted to say hi to a couple of people who joined. Catherine Toomer on Instagram. Rita says, LOL. I assume that was about my tongue-in-cheek comment. And Sue Conte has joined us as well. All right, we've got, and Laura Court also has joined us on Instagram. Good to see you. Okay, Dorisa, good to see you on YouTube. She says, how do I deal with fatigue and fear of future travel or events that I need to deal with those thoughts that make me tense? Okay, let's leave this up there also. So, future travel or any events in the future that are bringing up lots of anxiety about this and leading to symptoms like fatigue, they are essentially conditioned responses. This is similar to what I was saying to about what Sylvia had asked, but didn't apply to her so much. When you've gotten into a repeated pattern of things, then the event itself becomes a trigger because you've had that experience so many times. Well, the thing we want to do with triggers is to deconstruct them. We want to take them apart. And so your question, Dorisa, is a good one. How do I deal with it? Okay. So the first thing is to start challenging assumptions. We need to challenge the assumption, as an example, that you are going to have fatigue with future travel. We even need to challenge the assumption that you're going to have fear about it. Believe it or not, you have to challenge even that. Remember, we're moment-to-moment beings. We can change on a dime as long as we are thinking differently. So what I want you to do is to start thinking about how doubt works its way in there. Let's get specific, Teresa. How What is it saying to you? What does it convince you is true that is going to be the problem? And what form is that taking? We need to get this articulated. Remember, in the doubt column, we have to articulate doubts. This is one of those moments. So, Teresa, give that a try and get back to me either today or at a later time, and I will help you with it. Okay, Sylvia says, okay, I'll take it. I think she's referring to the idea that it's the emotions and dreams. I have noticed some nightmares on those nights when it's worse when I wake up. Bingo. I think it's mostly stuff about the past, so not sure what to do about that. Seems so random. Aha. Okay, first of all, when you hear the word random coming out of your mouth, I really want to remind you, nothing here is random, I promise you. It might feel very hard to figure out, but you need to make the assumption that you make sense and your symptoms make sense, and what just happened is a sign of it. I said, hey, I think you're having emotions column. It's probably related to dreams. And you said, actually, I have noticed that there have been dreams on those nights. That's because these things do make sense, and I can keep making sense of them for you and with you. So Sylvia has a follow-up question or two about this. She says, what do I do when I think I've identified the emotional trigger? Talk to my brain, reassure, remain indifferent, or is the idea that you identify emotions, you'll just get better over time? Okay, please leave this up there because there's multiple questions in there. I got to answer them all, even though they all are kind of the same question at base. Okay, Sylvia. Now, my first answer might feel not super satisfying at first, but in the end, it's going to do you much better than any answer that might sound better right away. And here's the thing: it's going to depend on the moment, but it doesn't mean that there's no way to know. It doesn't mean that there's so many moments. What I want you to do is start thinking of the basic moments that you do face there. So at certain moments, you will need good self-talk to talk to the brain. At other moments, you'll need reassurance. At other moments, you'll want to remain indifferent. And what I want you to do is do a little kind of some experiments here to try out which one works when. And what you're going to notice is that there's patterns that you have. This is why I say you have to build your system within my system, because you have a very specific structure in the way that you work and your columns work. So you can find out. You could find out, you know what, at this moment about this kind of thing, I need reassurance. I know that. And you can get that set in your mind in stone. That's what you do in moments like that. At other times, you could say, you know what, I do all this self-talk, but I don't even believe it. If something's not working, throw it out. Actually, sorry, let me do better than that. Not just throw it out. Back up and ask yourself, why is it not working? So if, let's say, self-talk isn't working because you're saying words to yourself that you don't actually believe, well, then you need to ask yourself, why don't you believe it? Then you're doing doubt column work. So even though it's an emotional, an emotions column symptom, it may bring up doubt as you're trying to figure out how to do it. Or remaining indifferent. You might have doubt about that. I'm not going to be able to stay indifferent. Or you could try to remain indifferent, but truly not be indifferent. If it's not working, it's not working. You shouldn't try to force yourself to be someone different than you are in a given moment. What I want you to do instead is collect the things that work in different moments. Sometimes reassurance gets the job done. Sometimes talking to your brain is what gets it done. Sometimes getting more specific about the emotion is what gets it done. And by the way, I will say this. When you're working in the emotions column, if you're getting bogged down there and you're not making progress, try getting more specific. It's the number one thing you can do. Pick out the moment and think in specific why. What was happening? I mean, let's take with dreams. What was happening the night before? Were you having dinner with a friend? Were you with family? Did you watch something on TV with a certain theme? Try to think about the specifics. So you could say that that's talking to your brain, but I think what you mean by that, Sylvia, and what most people mean when they say talking to your brain is kind of working through the self-talk, the logic of things. But sometimes, especially in the emotions column, it is about identifying that emotional trigger more specifically. So you may think you've identified it, but I'll tell you this. If you identify it more specifically, right on target, that symptom is going to go away, especially if doubt has been taken care of. So I think the idea, last question, she says, or is the idea that as you identify emotions, you'll just get better over time? That is true. You will get better over time, but partly it's because you get more specific, you get more accurate. in what it is you're looking at. Okay, Mark Campbell saying hi on YouTube. Good to see you, Mark. Let me know if you have any questions or observations or want to share anything. It's good to see you here. Okay, we have something coming in from Instagram. It's Catherine Toomer, and Rick Rowan has joined us there as well. Good to see you, Rick. Okay, Catherine says, hi, Dr. Dan. You helped me last week with doubt about TMS as the cause of my plantar fasciitis. Always TMS. I really believe it most of the time. But then doubt. A friend had very bad knees, she puts in quotes. Pain and very poor, it looks like you ran out of something you were saying. Pain and very poor functionality, I think is what you were saying there, but please let me know. So I'm gonna make an observation about that, and Catherine, you keep going with that if you need more that you want to share with me. So, this statement, I really believe it most of the time. That's where a lot of us are at with doubt, and that's why we have to keep working at it, because most of the time is very good, and that's a good start. I want you to get to a place where you believe it all the time. And when it comes down to it, all of these things that don't come from a blunt force trauma or a major medical condition that isn't one of these things that's been debunked, it is a mind-body issue every time. So listen, a friend had very bad knees. One way that we can cut through that is to say, okay, she actually added the rest of it. Well, I'll respond to this and then I'll get to the rest of it. So one way we can respond to somebody who's a friend with very bad knees is there's no way, if mind-body things are not being factored in, to delineate between somebody who has bad knees biologically or physiologically versus bad knees because of mind-body issues. Until somebody has taken on that problem and admitted that the mind-body condition could be the cause, they're not really a reliable reporter, honestly. I'm sorry to say it in a blunt form, but it really is true. They're ruling out a major component. No study in science is done without looking at the placebo effect. What that means is no study is done without factoring in the mind-body experience. To have somebody say, I just have very bad knees, that's basically doing an experiment without the placebo effect being compared to it. We cannot trust that kind of data. So, Catherine, I hope that helps. But now I'm going to finish up on what you were going to say. She says pain and very poor function. Eventual surgery, knee replacement, healed the pain and the function. Seemed not TMS. And this friend does not tend toward TMS. So if this wasn't, maybe my plantar fasciitis isn't TMS. Okay, so first of all, the surgeries that are sometimes needed for knee replacements, shoulder replacements, all that kind of thing, they are for functionality and range of motion. That is legitimate. Sometimes that needs to happen. It's pretty rare, but it does sometimes happen. It does happen more with age. That's true. I'm not saying they are necessary, but what I am saying is this. If people feel they need to get these surgeries, it is only for range of motion and functionality. It has nothing to do with pain. Nothing. So, whatever happened here, I can guarantee you, Catherine, that the pain was TMS in your friend. Absolutely, 100%, no doubt whatsoever. I have all of the science and all of the logic on my side of this. So, if you want to go to the PPDA website, I have the link, by the way, if you want to get it from me. It's on my website on the resource page. So check that out, www.crushingdoubt.org. And you can find out that there are hundreds of studies that show that none of these issues cause pain. None of them do. And if you think about it from a degenerative standpoint, degeneration never causes pain. Our eyes start to go bad. Our hearing gets worse. Our skin has wrinkles. We lose hair. It turns gray. We get little tears in our labrums and in our ligaments and things like that. None of it hurts. It seems potentially logical that it would, but the science shows it doesn't. They study asymptomatic people without any pain whatsoever, and their MRIs are often complete train wrecks. We've seen this again and again and again. So all the evidence is with us. Catherine, let me know if that's helpful to you, but I can guarantee you your plantar fasciitis is TMS, and so was this knee pain in your friend. So the good news is you don't have to think, maybe there are exceptions to the rule, because there aren't. There really aren't. With blunt force trauma, Yes, but those things heal. With major medical conditions, it's possible, but not likely that that would be the cause. And meanwhile, a lot of these supposed major medical conditions are ones that have been debunked. So let's talk about it, Catherine. Let me know if that helps. Okay, Napoleon Villegas. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm using the Spanish pronunciation, and hopefully that's right. Napoleon says, "Hi, thank you for everything." You are welcome. I hope I've done some good, helpful things for you. Sounds like I have. I'm not there yet, but I have less sensations every time. Okay, good. And when I'm enjoying the moment, really, all of the COVID symptoms, the long COVID symptoms just go away. Thanks. Okay, so Napoleon had reached out to me asking if long COVID might be TMS. And here's what I said. Listen, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know everything about this. But what I will say is this. It doesn't make much sense that long COVID would actually exist other than as a TMS format. And here is why I think that. Just using science and logic. These kinds of viruses, flu viruses in the past, they have all operated in very similar ways. They infect people. They can make people very sick. They can even kill people. And at the same time, we do not have cases where people say, "Oh, I got the flu, and then I had lasting effects." COVID is a new strain of coronavirus, and it is more of an unknown in certain ways. But the worry that we're going to have long-term effects is just worry. And one thing we know about worry and the mind-body condition is that worry can cause symptoms. And I will be very definitive about this. People can argue with me if they want. I'm up for it. I've got the science and logic on my side. I'm happy to talk about it. Long COVID fits exactly with TMS, with mind-body issues. It's exactly the kind of thing that is a recipe to create symptoms. It's a worrisome condition. We don't know that much about it, or supposedly people are talking about it all the time. There's tons of triggers. So the reality is it is a perfect setup for lots of symptoms. And Napoleon, you are a great example and a piece of evidence for us that this kind of thing can be turned around by mind-body treatment. It's already happening. I know you're saying you're not there yet, but you have less sensations every time. Well, that is telling you something, because we haven't changed anything except your belief system. So keep up the good work. Please do come back and report once you've mastered this, because I know you're going to. And that will put a lot of doubts to rest for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing. Molly says, COVID triggered me today when I heard there is a new variant. How can I deal with these triggers? Okay, Molly had another observation, but it's separate. So we're just going to stick with this one for now. Okay, so a couple things. First of all, yes, there is a new variant that they named Omicron, which sounds like some kind of Marvel villain. I don't know why they do that. They should name it something far less scary. But the reality is this, from what I've heard, it is more contagious, but less severe symptoms. Now, I actually think this is good news in a way, because what it is showing is that the vaccines are forcing the virus to start adjusting to make for far less potent conditions if it's going to be able to be more transmissible. Now, it may be just luck that that's happening, but my cousin was pointing out this out to me, that the Spanish or the epidemic of 1917 with Spanish flu. Oh, it looks like we're having a problem on Instagram. Give me one sec. The Spanish flu in 1917 largely died out because of the kind of strain that we're seeing in Omicron, which is a highly contagious one that's not serious, because it took over the whole space and kept all of the other variants from being able to find their way in. So it could actually be good news. Now, Molly's question, though, for how I can deal with these triggers, is you need to remember the amount of aggression that is coming from society, Molly. People are trying to make you worried. The news is trying to make you worried. It may not even be conscious a lot of the time, but the fact is it's there. There's a lot of triggers being handed out. Do not listen to people. Remember that your body is strong. We've had millions of years of evolution to get to this point. It can handle many, many things. Your mind also is very strong, so it could trigger things and it could lead to a process, a mind-body process. But the key is very similar to what we were talking about with Karen at the beginning, not letting other people infiltrate us with things. Don't pay any attention to that. Think about it in the way that you do. It's very possible that these variants are nothing to be, not that serious. In fact, we've had other waves of things that were not serious. I mean, does anybody know what Epsilon was? I don't. I heard about Delta and then I heard about Omicron. I didn't hear about anything in between. We don't need to get so worried about these things. Remember, if we've taken appropriate precautions, that's what we needed to do. Short of that, you can remember your body's strong. I mean, once you've gotten some vaccine in you, you really are going to be fine. That's my take on it. So let's keep talking about it. Okay, now Molly's talking about dreams. She said, I have had some super crazy vivid dreams when I'm highly sensitized. Thankfully, better though than last year, so less crazy vivid dreams. Just an observation. Does it seem when people are really old, they have less pains because they are emotionally less sensitized? Just wondering. It's an interesting question. I have to think about that. Here's my take on it, Molly, but I reserve the right to adjust this if need be. My first thought is this. We would need to ask, what does it mean for people to be less sensitized emotionally when they're older? And to think about, why does that happen? My take on it would be this. I don't think that just happens. I don't think that it is some kind of biological thing. I think what's more likely the case is that as we get older, we've been around the block. We have ideas about how things go, so we can handle certain things in ways that we maybe couldn't before. Now, at the same time, the older you are, if you've been through lots of trauma, it can be worse in a way because you've been around the block in a different sort of way. So it can go in either direction. But I would say that people getting older probably have less pains for a couple of reasons. One, Dr. Sarno talked about the age of responsibility, the years of responsibility. And older people aren't having to deal with as much of that. Now, they are having to deal with aging and mortality, so that can bring up a lot of things for sure. But I think if I had to guess, it is more the fact that they've maybe worked out more of their kind of emotions column kind of thing, and maybe even the doubt column. Maybe they are less scared overall. But based on what I know about things, doesn't matter how old you are. It only matters what your belief system is. So if they're having more success with having less pain, that just speaks to the fact that they're in a better mindset to me. But let's keep talking about it. Okay, Catherine has a follow-up on the plantar fasciitis. She says, I also want my plantar fasciitis to be TMS because healing it will help me trust more, and perhaps I can tackle the remnants of my heavy-duty problem with OCD as a much bigger issue for me than plantar fasciitis. So this is a great point, Catherine, and I just want to make this observation for everybody. Every time you conquer something in your symptoms, you are better off. You are now stronger in your battle against doubt. Take Molly and the burning tongue. If she has some other symptom, she's got that in her back pocket. She conquered a big one. Karen Isaacs is another one. She has conquered migraines in the past and a lot of other ones. She's gotten stronger and stronger. Sylvia, another good example. She has, I think, started to dominate doubt much more. Maybe dominate's too strong a word, Sylvia, but I think you're on your way. And it is now shifting into the emotions column. Well, if this continues, if this keeps up, doubt is going to be in a much weaker position with her, and it's going to keep up. All you got to do is keep working at it, and eventually you get there. Every time we make a step and conquer something, it's big. One of the reasons I believe in the mind-body condition as much as I do is that I have conquered hundreds, if not thousands, of symptoms, including some major ones. When I conquered my back pain that had been there for 8 years, unremitting, I was totally blown away. And it has made me much stronger in my belief system. Okay, Sylvia says, Dan, in your opinion, why is doubt like this? Why is it doing all this to us? What is the underlying reason in our subconscious? What is this all about? Okay, that's a great question. So I think that this is what I'd say to this, Sylvia, but I'm going to need a follow-up from you if you need more on this. I don't think doubt is inherently this bad thing. It is proving to be a very bad thing. But what doubt really is the human condition. We all have doubt. We come into the world as little kids. We look up, we look to our parents, and we say, what is this? Do I know? I don't know. There's so much we don't know that doubt is kind of baked into who we are. So when you say, why is it doing all this to us? I don't want you to think of it as something where doubt shouldn't be there. Doubt is actually a pretty natural thing. But the reason that it's doing this to us from a mind-body perspective is that our very natural process of doubt is being corrupted by a psychological defense. And the psychological defense is there because we have dismantled a lot of the other ones, and yet this one is being supported by society in a huge way. We're getting all kinds of messages from society that, no, we don't have any vulnerabilities. We just hurt physically. Let's take a look at athletes, for example, and let's leave this up here. Athletes routinely, they have this happen. They're not playing well, and suddenly they get hurt. And then the story is, oh, well, they were already hurt. That's why they played badly, as if somebody couldn't play badly for other reasons. Well, the fact is, the main reason that people play badly is mental. They may not be having a good day. Happens all the time. I'm sure you all have experienced this. Trying to do your job on a bad day, you're not as good at it. You're just not going to be. But society keeps sending us messages that, nope, you're not allowed to hurt unless it's physical. You're not even allowed to get out of a situation that you don't want to be in unless you're sick. So physicality is sometimes the arena that allows us to operate in a certain way. And as a result, the psychology is moving in that direction. Meanwhile, psychologists don't understand, in general, this defense. And that is making it a very powerful and activated defense. So what I would say is doubt is the human condition, but it is being corrupted because of the way society is behaving and what it is that they're valuing. Sylvia, let me know if that makes sense of your question. I know you were asking actually something more about kind of the internal workings of the psychology, but I thought it was important first, at the very least, to show from a societal standpoint, why is it happening? Because it's not us. We are not the problem. The problem is actually society, what our knowledge base is, and what our values are. If we change that, this all changes. We'll still have doubts about things, but it won't manifest in this way. All right. Now, Sylvia says, I think I've had another emotional trigger. No, I ID'd another emotional trigger. Good. At the start of a long road trip, right when it's time to go grocery shopping or about to leave for work. Migraine. I think it's the fear of what's ahead. Interesting. I think you're definitely on the right track, Sylvia. What I want to see is that specific enough? And if it is, the symptoms should actually reduce when you think about them, when you're having symptoms. If not, get even more specific. What are the themes that are coming there? What's the prep work and what is the fear of what's ahead? Let's get even more specific. Even so, you're very much on the right track. And this also shows that you've done doubt column work that's freeing you up now to do the emotions column work. This is progress. Keep it up. Okay, Bob. He says, first time ever yesterday evening, my normal shoulder and neck pain was running a 6 to 7. I thought to myself, it's just TMS, just stop. 2 seconds later, the pain was gone. Just a lucky moment? Nope. Bob, that is not a lucky moment. That is coming from the work you've done. So, first of all, I'm happy for you. This is just the beginning. You're going to find that more and more. What's happening, and I can say this because I've had some interactions with Bob, mostly on YouTube comments, but I've seen him getting better and better. I've seen his doubt coming down. This is what happens when doubt comes down. It's one of the reasons the column systems works. And I came to formulate it as I did, as I saw, as I brought my own doubt down, I started to have moments like that. And as you start to have moments like that, it becomes hard to keep up doubt in a way, which is good. So what's going to happen is that as your belief system becomes stronger and stronger, Bob, you're going to have more and more moments like this, and those moments build towards success. And doubt is in a lot of trouble. This is good. This is good. You keep at it, but I promise you that was not a lucky moment. Think about it this way. A lucky moment is like saying it was random. I don't accept randomness, and we don't need to. Your mind and body are very precise instruments. And in the scientific world and the world of evolution, it's very precise. So don't think of it as lucky. There's meaning in that. Bob, let me know if that makes sense to you. Okay, Mark Campbell says, hi, Dan. Thanks for the updated action steps. Let me just say what that's about, actually, guys. For those of you who bought PDFs in the past, I went through and rehauled the action steps and the troubleshooting document as well. There were just some things that I wanted to change, and I sent those out to anybody who already bought them, the updated versions. So I'm glad that got to you, Mark. Okay, Mark says, I have been struggling with my knee. I have a degenerative meniscus tear on my MRI. The pain is specific and reproducible. I try to push against the pain. I know that this is a normal variant on MRI, but the pain just keeps getting worse when I push against it. How do I crush this doubt? I've also been to a TMS provider who agrees this is TMS. Thoughts? Okay. Well, please leave that up there too. This is a bit of a longer one. First of all, Mark, I will verify that as well. This is TMS. It is even behaving like TMS. And I'll explain why. So doubt has a little bit of a hold of you. It's got some nice ways that it is getting you to worry more. One of the ways it gets you to worry more is to seem to make more sense. The more specific it is, the more it seems to make sense. The more reproducible it is, the more it seems to make sense. Okay? So I certainly understand that. But the reality is, if meniscus tears have been debunked as a cause for pain in general, then they're not causing pain for you. However, there's enough doubt in there that it can kind of get in the cracks and cause some pain. Now what's happening is you're testing it. Okay? Now, I don't blame you for that at all, but I think that I tell people sometimes you have to wait on pushing against triggers. Pushing against triggers to me is the last thing you want to do. I don't mean the last thing like it's a bad idea. I mean it is the last thing in the sequence that you want to do. And the reason for that is that triggers can be very, very strong, very believable. They give doubt a chance to really sink their teeth into you, its teeth. So what I would suggest here is to back off on testing it. Don't try to defeat the trigger yet. Just think instead about the science and logic that says this is TMS. The TMS expert says it too. There's absolutely no reason that any meniscus tear for anyone causes pain. So this is TMS for sure. And what I want you to do instead is to think about the various forms of doubt. Get them articulated because doubt is driving this. And when the pain is getting worse, that is a sign that doubt is taking hold even more. We've got to battle that doubt. To do that, you've got to get it articulated. Mark, let's start there. Let me know if that helps. Okay, Karen Isaac says, my sister has plantar fasciitis surgery scheduled, had plantar fasciitis surgery scheduled 20 years ago. She canceled it after I told her about Dr. Sarno. That's a great story. It's always good to know that people are getting saved from these things. Dr. Sarno saved my life. He saved lots of people's lives. And this work can do that. So thank you for sharing that, Karen. Plantar fasciitis, 100%, always mind, body. So are meniscus tears. There may be an actual tear, but it doesn't cause any pain. Okay, Molly says, I actually find it fascinating how the old do not hurt. For the most part, they do not. I agree. I have witnessed this in nursing homes, so they can teach us all a lesson. Stop fearing. Exactly. And meanwhile, the idea that degeneration causes pain and then they are not hurting, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. None. So we have to factor that in. I'm always baffled by how doctors and other people who make these arguments, and you'll see it all the time. When you make a point that they can't handle, they just stop talking. They just give up. They change the subject. They even change the subject in their own mind because somehow they just don't want to know. But the fact is, we do want to know. And if we keep asking the questions and answering them, we get to the same results over and over and over. Okay, Karen Isaac says, yes, I used to beat myself up that I had many TMS symptoms. Now I'm proud of myself for overcoming all. They don't stick around. Dr. Dan helped me in recent months. Glad to hear it when he told us about his symptoms. Okay, I've heard that actually, that me talking about my symptoms has been helpful to people. I think this is incredibly important. I certainly found it to be. Some of the most powerful things in Dr. Sarno's books were when he talked about his own symptoms. I think that psychologists in general have been trained not to talk about themselves, and that doesn't make any sense. And here's why. I mean, it's one thing if you come into my office and I'm talking about me the whole time and there's no room for you. I understand that. We're not doing that. But if I'm asking you to be vulnerable and share things, and I won't even do it myself, why would you trust me? It just doesn't make any sense. So that is a story for another time. In fact, I'm going to write a book on that when I get done with this one I'm writing, which I finished another chapter, guys. We're making progress. 3 more to go. Okay, Napoleon says, speaking of doubt, I was wondering why it's so hard sometimes when symptoms are higher. Even when the fact that I was totally symptom-free last night playing with friends, sometimes fear goes up. Yes, doubt can come in at any given moment. Remember, we're moment-to-moment beings. No matter how confident you were at one moment, if you're off balance at another, doubt will come in. It's going to try to at all times. So why is it so hard at times? I actually think it comes from your up and down experience of emotional life. Are you feeling good and actually power column? Are you feeling good? Remember, the definition of power really is, do you feel good or not? If you feel good, you're in power. If you don't feel good, you are not in power. It's as simple as that. Doubt is going to capitalize on the moments when you don't feel good, you don't feel in power. So why is it hard to sometimes? Because you're a person. It goes up and down. But as you track it and learn to see it, it will have less power. Okay, Sylvia says, great answer about doubt. That was when I was talking about, what's doubt doing? What's it all about? But I'm glad to hear that. Seemed like a good answer to you, Sylvia. I definitely agree with myself. She said, for that new emotional trigger I found, yeah, it is so general, which makes it confusing. But I think it's like the dread of this long time intensive thing. Okay, I promise you, Sylvia, it never is actually general in reality. If you explore it in detail enough, you will get to the specifics. I can help you with the specifics, by the way. For those of you who need a little bit more help, I'm finding the membership groups are really explosively good work. We are making progress day by day by day, sometimes minute by minute. People are like, I wasn't realizing this, and now I do. They're getting new tools. So I really encourage you, give the memberships a try, even for a little bit, and it gives you a chance to go through these moments. This would be a good example of that, Sylvia. No pressure to do so yourself, but I'm just saying, if you're trying to get something from general to specific, this is a way to do it, and it's a way that you don't have to do it on your own, and I can weigh in ways that can help you understand it, and then you can carry those forward into your regular life. Sensible Goddess Coaching has joined. I like your name. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Bob says, yes, makes sense. Just first time the pain ever went to zero fast like that, it startled me. Totally understandable, Bob, but that is the beginning of the end of doubt. You are getting there. I remember those moments where I was like, is there really no pain? And how long will this last? And then doubt came back in and was like, it's not going to last. But it did, because I kept working at it. And of course, I didn't know about the doubt column at that point. So we're going to learn more and more. But when you get moments like that, pay attention to that and do not dismiss it as random. That is a sign of progress. Okay, Mark Campbell says, thank you, Dan. That is what I needed to hear. Off to the doubt column. Okay, good, Mark. Glad to hear it. Absolutely, you have nothing to fear. It may hurt, but it cannot harm. Don't test. Just start to think about the doubt column, and maybe even think about emotions. What's going on for you? Think emotionally, but do not start to test and have to get through a trigger. Do that last in the sequence. Okay. Teresa says, I think fear is huge. I have conquered a lot of fears, but still have a lot more to conquer. Teresa, you're so right about that. Fear is the hardest part of doubt to conquer. It is, it is the emotional component of doubt, and that's part of why it's so hard. It tends to spread out among the other columns. Fear is very big, but the antidote to fear, it's interesting. There's lots of things I say are the antidote to fear. Information is the antidote to fear. The antidote to fear is love. I did a podcast on that. But the antidote to fear is also the power column. So you keep working at that. You see where you fit in. in the kind of structure of the universe, that you are who you are for a reason, that things make sense. And when things make sense, fear goes down. It's another way of saying that the antidote to fear is information. So, and Rita's saying joy is also an antidote to fear, I believe. And I agree with that. Okay, I'm going to take one or two other questions, then we got to wrap up for today. This one's from Facebook. Wolf Bowden, good to see you here. How do I sit when the sciatic pain ramps up? I've been trying graded exposure, but it has mostly just led to more flare-ups even after sitting for short periods, like a minute. Okay, so to me, this actually relates to what we were talking about with Mark Campbell before. Wolf, you may not have been here during that time. But one of the things that I talked about is that you want to deal with triggers last in the sequence of things. I don't know you, of course, so I could be totally wrong about this, but so far from what you're describing and what I know about Goodists and how people work through these things, you may be putting some pressure on yourself to get there really fast and maybe not really fast, but get there to the point where you're all in. You're trying your hardest to make this happen. Even though I know you're doing graded exposure, so you're also taking it slowly and carefully. But what I want you to do is back off from testing it and trying to get past the trigger and instead focus on doubt. Now, Wolf, we haven't talked before, so I don't know where you are in your process with this, but the key here is going to be to identify your doubt. Your doubt is the thing that's making you afraid. It's like what Teresa said, fear is huge. We have to figure out what's the fear about before you go ahead and test these things and try to get past the triggers. You're almost there. But let's work on the doubt column first, and please reach out to me if you need to. It's dan@crushingdoubt.org. Okay, let me know if that helped, and we will move from there. Okay, he said thanks, so I hope that's good. But Wolf, don't hesitate to reach out. I can help you. Feel to Heal Coaching has joined us on Instagram. Good to see you. Diehard Patriot Joseph is here, and he says, reason why not everybody somaticizes emotions. TMS, only some people do. Okay. This is a longer question, or a longer answer. It's not a long question, but we're going to finish up on this. But the main reason that people somaticize emotions versus not is about their overall psychological defense structure. Meaning, what psychological defenses do they tend to use? Lots of people use lots of different kinds of defenses. My least favorite defense of all is something called projection, where people try to convince you that you are doing the very thing they are doing. It's a very gaslighty move. I don't like it at all. And it's a primitive defense. So here's the thing. Defenses are built on development. The most primitive defense of all is denial. It's just like, oh, no, not even happening. Well, we can't even make that last very long if we are a more sophisticated person. We kind of look at it and think, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I can't really get into that defense so much. So as we develop, our defenses become more and more sophisticated. Here's the thing. The mind-body defense, somatization, whatever we want to call it, is the most sophisticated defense. It is the defense that the most sophisticated people use. It's the one where the people it's the goodest one. Think about it. They're very adaptive. They're very able to handle things. They're very competent. I say they, it's me, it's you, it's us. But the people who tend to have this are ones that are, sorry to say it, but there's no reason to pull punches on this. They're better people. They're people who have taken the psychological journey they're on, and they've figured out a way to do it in a way that's better for other people. These are the people, myself included, we fall on the grenade so that no one else gets hurt. It's actually the most generous psychological defense. It's actually one to feel proud of, even if we're not happy with it. The great news is once we get past that, we don't really need the psychological defenses too much. We can just exist in the power column, which brings me to Joni Miller's comment, which is, I'm in the power column every day. LOL, Joni, I'm glad to hear it. And I know you are, and I know we're working on that. So great question, Joseph. And let's continue that discussion more if people need to hear more about what is this psychological defense? Why us? Why do we have this? And what does it signify? In the end, it's actually good news. It means you are a good person. And in fact, I have helped certain people kind of become better people, more adaptive people, more functional people, and then they develop back pain or knee pain or shoulder pain or headaches. When they become a better person, they start to use this defense more. What does that tell you? That's not an accident. It's all developmental. Okay, great question, Joseph. Great question, all. This was a fun night, as always, answering your questions. Once again, it's definitely not too late to sign up for our seminar, which begins December 6th, Monday, December 6th. It's Monday through Thursday. There's 75-minute sessions. They're also available on recording. So if it doesn't work in your schedule, there are still ways to do this. It gives you all the information that you need. In the meantime, we've got the group memberships going, so you can work on your moment-to-moment experience, and we can keep at it in multiple ways. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need my help. It is dan@crushingdoubt.org. Sensible Goddess Coaching says thank you. You are welcome. This is a pleasure as always. Guys, keep up the good work. Welcome back from Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, and I will see you same time next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Thanks so much, guys.